am here every Friday. Now today, like I said, we're here at a different time today because we got a special show. Got a special guest, special co-host. Everything is special about today. I'm used to this new time. I might get used to this new time. Man, I could sleep a little longer and drink a little more coffee and put on a necktie. See, I don't have time to put on a tie on a regular day. Look at me over here putting on a tie on a Friday afternoon. Actually, today was a special day also. I actually I picked up a degree today. And I am an official chaplain. Can you believe that? I have a chaplaincy degree. So I guess whatever a chaplain can do, I guess I can perform weddings, funerals, but the mission though, this was aligned with my purpose to be able to reach people wherever they are, create and to really mend some of this division, some of this unnecessary division we have in our community. And religion happens to be one of those dividers that's so unnecessary. So that happened today. So we got a lot going on. And today, we're going to get our special guest coming back today, who came in last week. We had some had a little technical difficulties. Miss Sheyann Webb Christburg. She was on that infamous Edmund Pettus Bridge with the Honorable John Lewis, and she was a confidant. She marched with Dr. King. She was known as one of the world's smallest freedom fighters. So she's going to be joining us coming up at the around 1 o'clock today. Might get in here a little sooner. I'd like to welcome you to everybody. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm Robert Gatewood, of course. You can find out more about me and my company by going to gatewoodmarketing.com. Also go to marketingpulpit.com. You'll find out more about me and my amazing co-hosts and my guests and contact information and all that good stuff. Now today we also got a special co-host. She's no stranger. She joins me on the second Friday of the month. And if there was ever a time you need a philosophy day, it's now. And between businesses having sales issues, we got this money floating around out here, you got pandemics, you got social unrest. This is not a normal time, so you need some help. So that's why I'm just gonna bring her on in here so I can just chat up and let her do some of this talking today. Because this lady got some knowledge. Welcome to the show, Philosophy Day.
Hey, Robert, how are you?
I am so honored and pleased to have you today. I know you've been busy as a one-armed paper hanger. And how did you do it? You must have gone on a sabbatical. You must have gone off to a island or something after that last, the tax date that moved back to in the middle of July.
No, Robert, I was here in the house, but I was completely withdrawn from the day-to-day operations of the office. I was here. I didn't go anywhere. My sister wouldn't allow me to take the kids, and my husband's not here nowhere. So we're stuck here.
You're back. Okay. But did you get some rest though?
I did.
Get a little rest?
You did. Yeah, I'm shiny.
Good.
Look, I'm kind of shiny.
You are. You just as radiant as the sun over there. Let me get my sunglasses on. You're so shiny. That's a good thing. And you know, we got a lot going on. We have a lot going on. And what are you gonna enlighten us with today?
You know, Robert, it's so much going on, but I'm going to talk about the executive order that Trump put out regarding the payroll taxes. I know everyone is pretty curious about that. And, you know, talk about the Social Security taxes and stuff that we won't have to pay based on the executive order that Trump issued. So that's what we're going to talk about. If that's not interesting, I can swing it.
Can you just do executive orders like that? I mean, I'm not trying to get into the politics of it, but it seems like you just can't do that, can you? I thought that was Congress's role. I thought Congress controlled the purse string. Now, that's what I was taught in civics. I'm just saying. But hey, these are different times.
Yes.
These are different times. I'm doing this quickly, Philosophy. Introduce yourself to the one or two people out there who might not know who you are. Give us like your couple of minute elevator pitch. Just let us know who you are.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Philosophy, the accountability accountant, guys. I'm the owner of Suncrest Financial Services located here in Largo, Maryland. and we specialize in helping small businesses really be able to help them scale and grow and build profitable, scalable, and sustainable businesses, Robert. So we do that by incorporating accounting, accountability, and all of our expertise and coaching to help small businesses grow and leverage.
That sounds like a lot. That's a mouthful. And ladies and gentlemen, may I be the I'm not gonna be the first one, but I would add to the chorus of people to say this young lady knows her stuff. And I've had the pleasure of working with her over the years, and I've sent her clients, people who I've run into, they've already working with her. And so I'm just glad to have her as a resource in the community. Let me tell you something else, folks. I'm so tired of folks feeling like they have to run outside of our community to get the kind of quality services that we have right here among us. Now you're not gonna get. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get on your case about this as many times as I have to. We have quality. We have quality folks in our community doing quality work. And while some people feel like we have to step out, we have to go creeping to find this work, I have a problem with that. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, you're gonna keep it real. I have a problem with that because, of course, people. There's the old thing about somebody else's ice is colder, and I had a bad experience with this business or that business, or they didn't treat me right. Well, look, nobody's going to treat you right all the time, and some of y'all probably didn't need to be treated right. You're coming out with these attitudes, but at the same time, you have to support the businesses in your community. And not, now I'm throw a little caveat in here too, because this is a two-sided coin. You business owners have to provide good service. Now, if you expect me to drive the extra 5 miles to support your business because you're a member of my community, then you got to go an extra 5 miles to give me good service when I get there. Okay, let's keep it real here. We don't get a pass just because somebody looks like us. But at the same time, we're not going to hold our people to a different or unrealistic standard because of that fact. Somebody know what I'm talking about. So my chaplaincy degree is working already. So you got me from the pulpit. Where's my robe? Daggone it. Get me started this morning. I'm gonna save all the foot stomping for Sister Webb when she gets here. I'm gonna talk about couple of quick things in the news last today. Businesses are still having a very hard time. Just read on LinkedIn this morning, and these numbers, I tell you, boy, what's odd about it for last today? The unevenness of it. Isn't that weird though? You can talk to, I know you deal with hundreds of clients. You can have 50 over here that are making money hand over fist. You have 50 on the other side, they can't even make their basic, can't even pay themselves, can't even pay their staff. What would you have? What would you attribute that mostly to for last today? Disparity.
I'm not going to kind of sound very boastful, but I'm not really experiencing that here with our clients in Suncrest. Most of our clients have actually skyrocketed. I'm sorry, Robert. I've done quite a bit of mutant, and if any of my clients are listening right now, what we had this week, y'all, most of my clients are doubling, even getting 1,000% overage of their growth. And so what I attribute to those individuals that are struggling right now is the lack of them possibly pivoting when they were supposed to into a different arena. So if, for example, if you were a service business doing something like landscaping or what is this, termite protection, then why not add on another service that you know already your team is capable of already performing, so you can now adjust and pivot. So what I'm finding is that the individuals, Robert, that are struggling are the ones that weren't able to pivot and didn't have their numbers in order. When you don't have your numbers, you weren't able to get some of the financing that some businesses are using to be able to still grow and maintain during this tough time.
Well, you see, I was trying not to, but I think we're probably in the same boat. And I'm gonna tell you, it's no coincidence that our clients are doing well because they've been working with us for several years, and we've been preparing them for moments like this. Yep. You can't wait until a pandemic starts to start practicing good business, using good business practices. You have to do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and on leap year, 366 days. So I'm not surprised that your companies, your clients are doing well because you give them year-long good advice. And the same thing on my end. My clients, I was using that 50-50 number, but that's not really the reality. My clients are banging. Hey, Fly, today, hold on a second. We're gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back. I'll get my guest up on the line here. I think they're trying to reach me. I'm gonna reach out to them. Marketing Pulpit. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go anywhere.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to also just keep reminding you of our good client, BLE Executive Suites, who has been sponsoring this show for the last 10 years. And I like to keep talking about them because they are the personification. They are the embodiment of what it takes to support a business in the community. And then that business in turn provide quality services to our community. They have the 3 locations. They have one in National Harbor. They have the one in Largo Park Center. And they have one in College Park. So, and what has happened, Falacia Day, we've seen this different requests for services. Many people can't go to school. Many teachers can't teach. Many tutors can't tutor. And many students, we're finding out, college students, they don't have a safe, secure place to get out the house to study. So what BLE is offering now are learning rooms. I mean, this is the coolest thing.
You see that pivot?
That's that pivot.
That pivot, Robert.
That's that pivot. I'm telling you, Falacia Day, once you get that mindset that you're not going to let a pandemic turn you around, you learn how to pivot. And so what BLE is seeing, they're seeing that some of these big companies that are closing some of their big offices are now downsizing to virtual services like BLE is offering. And we're starting to get this upsurge in tutors and teachers. They say, look, these students they still need somebody to hold their hand to give them that individualized attention, but they're not going to their house and they're not coming to their house. So BLE is providing these safe rooms, plenty of space. They got the AV equipment, got the boards, got the internet, fast internet. So if you are an educator, or if you somebody who need to get out of that house for whatever reason, I don't care if it's your old lady driving you crazy or your old man driving you crazy, you just need a place to get out every now and then and go out here and take care of business, call them at 301-322-1700 or go to blesuites.com. Now, Falacia Day, let's talk about this executive order real fast. What's up with that, and how is it going to affect the what's going on with the economy and small businesses? And also give us a quick update on this, the latest on the EIDL and the PPP. You are the expert in these areas.
Okay, Robert. So, sorry guys, printing accidentally. Okay, so okay,
you gotta take a break. Let me know.
No, we're fine. There's just so much happening. So your favorite president, number 45, right, ended up, overstepping, but he could do what he wanted to do. He could do the executive order if he wanted to, but, Congress have a right to, vetoing it or pushing it back down. So what he realized was that the people that were on the front lines right now, they're still being hit because they're paying the normal amount of taxes. And so what he wants to allow is that all individuals that are currently being paid right now via W-2, okay, you
Okay.
can now defer, you're not exempt, okay?
Okay.
You can now defer your Social Security and your Medicare taxes, okay? So your 6.2%, you will be able to defer that you normally pay, and that can end up being an extremely large amount. So what they did not specify now, and so based off what a recent update was, that they're just talking about the Social Security. They didn't even mention the Medicare now in this notice that I received from our tax division. It says, over the weekend, the president sent the memo to Secretary of the Treasurer, Stephen Munich, directing him to use his authority under 7508 to defer certain payroll tax. The secretary may defer the withholding, deposit, and Social Security tax imposed under a certain section, as well as a 6.2% railroad and retirement tax under 3201. But it does not say about Medicare taxes, deferring the Medicare taxes. So it seemed like we're still going to have to pay the 1.45% in Medicare taxes. However, they have already agreed and deferred the 6.2% in Social Security starting September 1st, 2020. Up until December 31st, 2020. However, guys, this is what I'm concerned about is like, yes, right now we might need to defer some taxes, but I really want each individual to weigh their personal financial situation independently, simply because could you afford to have to pay all of their Social Security taxes if Trump is not able to get this forgiven? Like, there's just so much uncertainty in the air about this. And they were saying that already a lot of businesses are taking the deferred tax. That's not true. Majority of all of my payroll clients, Robert, they have not elected to defer their payroll taxes because they don't want to be hit with owing that much money at the end of the year. So for all of you, I really want you to consider your individual financial state before you just automatically defer all of your Social Security taxes, okay? And so right now, this is not applicable to your federal taxes. So Robert, we're paying a collective of multiple taxes, but we're paying federal withholding, Social Security, and then Medicare. Then you also have like your capital gains and other taxes. In this particular case, they're not deferring so far federal withholding and Medicare so far. They have agreed to the Social Security to 6.2%, and then also that railroad tax as well, that Munich is able to do that. But if you are a high income earner, then this is not applicable to you. So if you make more than $4,000 within a 2-week time period, then this election is not approved right now as of we speak for you. So you have to make less than $4,000 every 2 weeks.
So what the average business owner is saying is that, what does that make me? What do I need to do? I mean, because I listened to everything you said, but it just went in this ear and out the other side. If I'm a business owner, what steps should I be taking right now? Do I need to call somebody like you to sort it all out for me? Should I go to their website? Should I look at my books? I mean, we're in the middle of the year. So what happens in the first half? I mean, this thing comes right in the middle of the year. So it's going to get confusing. I'm telling you, between the EIDL that's already out there floating around, the PPP, the OPP, the JZ, well, wait. Okay, I'm getting carried away, okay? People are going to be confused. Right now. You know what's going to happen. People don't know what's going to be forgiven and what's not. We know about the PPP. We had the grant. We got the PPP, the EIDL. Yep. Who's going to sort all this stuff out? People are taking this money. They're just taking it. They're spending it. They're sitting on it. Who is going to sort all of this money out for whom, and when does it get sorted?
So Robert, their individual accountant, if they have one, or themselves, and my clients, we're doing that now. So like, for example, we've already created our new simplified PPP worksheet for our clients. So we're just doing the last few calculations for that. I've already downloaded all of the reporting for the deferment. So all the payroll clients will be getting an email shortly asking, do they want to elect, and to ask their employees that was in that range, do they want to elect that benefit? So their accountant, Robert, is the one that will kind of keep them abreast on what's happening. But can I be really honest with you? We are kind of scrambling. We as a whole, the accounting community as a whole, we're scrambling. We're just getting off break, like off a 7-month tax season. And then it's just nonstop. And then they're coming up with stuff, not even knowing the ramifications behind it. Clients calling, emails flying. It's just that we need a stimulus check too. All the accountants, we need stimulus checks too, Robert. But that's basically it. Like, they have to consult with their accountant and then take it from there. This is not something that I think that a lot of people can handle independent of having a professional. It's too much legislation. It's too much legislation.
Well, this goes back to a lot of the hallmarks of my marketing strategy and business development. One is you have to surround yourself with people that know what they're talking about and what they know how to do what they're doing. As you stated earlier, many of your clients are experiencing a bonanza. Their sales are going up, and I'm finding out it's not. Now, some industries are just inherently are going to do well during the pandemic, like delivery services and things like that. But there are some industries that you would expect not to do quite as well, but because they had the foresight, they had a marketing strategy, they had contingency plans, they had an accountant, a financial advisor. So what I'm asking my listeners today is that it's not too late. This should be a wake-up call, if nothing else. Now, some companies are just simply not going to survive this. And I hope that's not anybody who's listening to this audience. But according to Yelp, 80,000 businesses, small companies, these are people less than 5 employees, have failed in the last 3 or 4 months. That's a lot of small businesses. And that number is just the tip of the iceberg, because many companies can hang on for a couple of months or 3 months or 4 months. But when that 4th or 5th month and that landlord said, look, okay, the honeymoon is over. When you spent that little reserve money you had for 3 or 4 months, what I'm saying is start now on the condition with the thought process that this is not going to be over in the next 2 months. You need to be ready for the long haul. And I'm not telling anybody to go out here and get money or debt that they can't afford to pay back. But you got to make a hard business decision if you plan to stay in business or not. I mean, sometimes it comes down to that. I've had this conversation about people about whether to get the EIDL money or not. I'm not going to tell you to do one way or the other. I'm just going to ask you this. Do you plan to be in business? Do you feel like your business is viable? You still offering services that people want? Now, if the answer is no, I'm going to say, look, hold the tent, go home, go back to work, retire if you're at retirement age, because you're just going to end up with a big old loan that you can't pay back because you are in a business that's not going to survive. Now, but other people, what I've discovered, Felicia Day, is that I've had people that hang on, hold on 1 second there. I've had people who got money. And this is what I'm hearing more often than not. And this goes back to business and the business mindset. There are many small companies that have not been bold enough in taking the initiative and the necessary risk to succeed in business. And the number one reason, they didn't have enough money, or they had so little, they weren't willing to risk it. They were like, look, I got like $2,000 or $3,000 in the bank, but I can't spend it all on an advertising campaign. So what they do, they sit on it, they bury it out in the yard, and they do what many small companies do. They stagnate, they don't scale. Eventually, they just die a slow and painful death. But what this money has done for people, and I've heard it, and I might even be a poster boy for that, it has allowed people to be a little more assertive in marketing, bringing in staff, consulting with people like Felicia Day. And what they're seeing is their sales are going up. They're offering the same services. They're doing the same thing. But what they're doing, they have realized what millionaires and billionaires have realized all along, is that it does take money to make money.
Yes.
Even if it's Uncle Sam's money. It does take some money to make money. So to that astute business owner who understands how to dot I's and cross T's and add, subtract, and do left and debits and credits and right side and left side of the financial sheet. If that is you, then you can make that money into more money.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, Flash Day, my service has just gone crazy with new business. I'm having a hard time keeping up. Because I'm doing what a lot of other folks I'm finding out are doing as well. Okay, yeah, we got more money now. I bought more advertising than I normally would. I brought in more staff. And what that did, it freed up my company to grow. And then as it grows, it brings in more money. Now I need some more staff. So that was the whole concept. But and this has been one of the problems that had plagued the Black community. We weren't able to get loans because of redlining, racism, all the other isms. Suddenly, some of the companies that have been denied loans their entire business existence have their hand on some money, and they are turning that money around, which is the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you were saying you experienced. You're seeing it in your clients.
I'm seeing it, Robert. They're hustling. The hustlers are using this as a blessing. Like I automatically said that this COVID was going to be a blessing in disguise. And the individuals that were waiting for opportunities like this and hustlers and already were aligned and just waiting for their moment and clear in their purpose, they're coming out strong. And it's actually pumping me up, honestly, Robert, to see it.
I'm telling you. I sit down the other day and I was just, and this is not bragging, folks. I'm just telling you, this is what happens when you do business right, when you take business seriously. Okay, like Felicia and myself, we're not in this to play around. Okay, I have looked. I keep track of where all of my customers come from. Been doing that since the first day I was in business, and what I have seen is customers coming from every possible. I mean, I'm on Facebook last night. A client who had been on my show, her sister or niece, they had the same last name, but I never heard of it. But they introduced in an introduction in Facebook chat. And last night, here come the payment. I mean, it's like I can't throw a rock now about hitting the client. Now, am I saying this to show off? No, I'm telling you what can be done.
You're showing it's opportunity.
Opportunity. That's what I'm telling you. Do not become a trinket violet. Don't pull out the violins. Don't do a premature funeral and burial. What I want you to do is to talk to somebody. Talk to me, talk to Felicia Day, talk to your advisor, talk to somebody in your family who understands marketing or finances, and let them help you through this pandemic if you're not sure how to do it yourself. There are some good businesses out here. Many are going to fail, not because the opportunity wasn't there. They just didn't know how to go about going out here getting this money.
Mm-hmm.
Now today, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. And if you can stick around, I'm going to bring on a historical figure. We're talking about somebody who was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, somebody who was at the right hand of the Honorable John Lewis, somebody who was around one of the world's smallest freedom fighters during the era of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, when you say that, you think you'd be talking about somebody about 100 years old. This lady, but now remember now, she was a baby freedom fighter. So I mean, she's around our age. She's not a John Lewis or Martin Luther King figure, because even though they were in their 20s and 30s, she was like 9 to 7 years old. So now she's coming of age. It's her time to shine, and she's on a mission too. So we're going to hear a lot about this young lady. I'm excited to have her on the show. So folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to have Miss Sheyann Webb Christburg. She's going to come back, and she's on a mission, and we're going to hear her. The next voice you hear, well, actually the next voice you hear with mine, because I'm going to introduce her some more. But the next person comes on and give their story today is going to be Miss Christburg. So don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, and you can go to marketingpulpit.com to find out more about all of our services, how to become a guest on the show, how to advertise, we're on a mission, ladies and gentlemen, and the show is doing great. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Don't you move a muscle. Ladies and gentlemen, I've heard it said that we are living in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Well, if I don't get to it today, I'm gonna get to it. But I'm gonna tell you that these folks on this continent are as brave as you would think. Really. We're like in the land of the timid. We got grown men acting like kids out here, like they afraid of their own shadow because somebody looks different than they do, talk different than they do, a different gender than they are. Where this home of the brave crap comes from? You're not brave. You're the opposite of brave. You're the antithesis of bravery. That's why one of my topics is fear and the 5 ways you can deal with fear from one extreme to the other. On one extreme, it includes annihilation, or at least the attempt to. On the other extreme, it means strengthening your backbone, facing it head on. So that's one of my topics today. But first, we're going to get to my special guest. I'm going to bring on the screen, matter of fact, just make sure her equipment is working today. Hey, how you doing today? It's Christburg. Am I saying is it Christburg or Christburg?
It's Christburg.
I've been getting you wrong all this time. Did you was it like scratching fingernails on the chalkboard every time I said Christburg?
No, many people often mispronounce it, but I'm okay with it. But just think about God and Christ.
Oh man, now it's hard to forget what you put in that kind of context. I don't you meet my co-host, Miss Falashade. Miss Falashade, meet Miss Sheyann. Is it Sheyann? I'm gonna get your first name. That's Sheyann, right?
That's correct, Sheyann.
How are you?
Sheyann.
I'm fine. I've been enjoying your conversation, and of course, I've learned a lot from it.
Oh, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's a compliment coming from you. That's a compliment. Now let me ask you this now. Give us a quick introduction before I start asking you all these questions. But just let folks know who you are and how great you are. Well, of course, you're not going to toot your horn like I'm going to toot it, but just give us a quick bio of who Sheyann Webb Christburg is.
Well, I was born and grew up in Selma during the Selma Civil Rights Movement. I left Selma to attend college at Tuskegee Institute. And I've been out here a long time, defining and having some defining moments in my life to help to impact lives. And being a civil rights activist, becoming a civil rights activist, an author, a youth advocate, and I'm a national speaker.
A national speaker. Now, did you personally meet Dr. King?
Of course. I personally met Dr. King at the age of 7. I lived in George Washington Carver Projects, which was right next to or adjacent to the now historic Brown Chapel AME Church. And that's the church where Dr. Martin Luther King and his entourage will always come to have their strategy meetings and mass meetings. So I would often play in front of Brown's Chapel Church. So one day, as I was playing in front of Brown's Chapel Church, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. King. And from the inception that I met this man, he gravitated my attention as a child, and he became special to me, and I became special to him as we grew in that movement together.
Oh my goodness, that is so special. Now, you also, you have so much history. I'm just gonna pick and choose because I could just sit here and do a whole week of shows on you, but you were one of the first children to integrate into an all-white school. And yes. I'm going to assume that they didn't exactly roll out the red carpet for you when you got there.
No.
What was that experience like to you? Because everybody's seen the images, and I hate to say it, but some of our people of a other persuasion, they think that we actually make this stuff up. People shouting and spitting, and grown adults. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's supposed to be this land of the brave. Grown adults, men, women. Here's a little 7-year-old girl trying to get to school, and this supposed to be this home of the brave. What was that like to you?
Well, for me, my growing up and as a little girl being right in the midst of everything that was going on in the civil rights movement, it helped to change my mindset as a child. So based upon that, I did not have the same thinking pattern that a normal child or my normal peers would have. And even my siblings. So all of my siblings went to an all Black school.
Mhm.
But I wanted to be a part of change with integrating the schools.
Okay.
And even though I knew that that would be a challenge for me, in my mind, I was prepared for that challenge because of my involvement in the movement and because of how I was embraced by Dr. Martin Luther King, Congressman Lewis, and others who were a part of that movement. So I did get that opportunity to go to the school and be one of the 8 people who would integrate that particular school. And it was very challenging. But with that, every day in attending school during that time, of course, it was turbulent times for me, not only to stay on top of my grades, but I was being spat on in many instances, pushed down the steps. I was called the N-word every day. It was just so many memories that I have during those times. And oftentimes my parents would even come to the school and talk to the principal, but yet nothing was done about it. But even in the midst of that, based upon what I had experienced as that little girl and growing up in that movement, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I had a great sense of determination and knowing that not only was I smart enough and good enough to attend an integrated school, but I also wanted to compete because I had the talent that I needed to compete, even being a poor little girl and being a Black little girl who really was challenged. Many obstacles were placed in my way. But in spite of that, it was very difficult. I became a cheerleader at that integrated school. I became a volleyball player, basketball player. I can name a number of things because I was an active young lady. Not only was I a person who wanted to be active, I always had in my mind to seek change for the betterment of other African American peers and students and for Black people. And that's the mindset that I had when I went to that school. And as time matriculated, Robert, I can tell you that some of those same teachers that are living today, and there are not many who are living today, but many of my peers there that are living today, they highly respect me for what I did.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind, because I know I respect it. I see you like a little baby version of Rosa Parks back then, because she had to take that. See, this is the thing about it. Also, I think that was genius on the part of the leaders back then. They would take people like Rosa Parks and really put them in these positions. People think that thing was just people doing this stuff nilly-willy. Of course, Rosa needed to get to work on the bus back and forth, but she was also working with the NAACP. In your case, of course, you wanted to get to school and go to the best school, but you were also part of the movement. And so there was so much strategy going on that I think sometimes it get lost. And it took that kind of strategy and organization, and why we have to give more credit to our leaders who were involved in the struggle back then. That a lot of this did not just happen by happenstance. It was planned, it was organized, and it was effective. I look at the bus boycott as one example. I look at the March on Washington, and then I also look at this infamous Edmund Pettus Bridge March that we called Bloody Sunday back on March 7, 1965. Now, you were there. Is that correct?
I was there. At that time, I had become 8 years old. So I was the youngest. I was the youngest little girl on that particular march.
So you're getting up to old age by then. You're up to 8 years old. No longer a baby at 7. So you were, wait a minute, now you were 8 years old on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Yes, I was 8. I met Dr. King at 7, Congressman Lewis at 7, and I had turned 8 years old in March prior to meeting them. So I was 8 years old.
So what was that experience like? I mean, we've all seen it on TV. I mean, I think I was around the same age you were back then. I'm looking at this. I'm like, man, this is. I mean, of course, I think I would have enjoyed being out there too, because I was a little rebel rouser. But what was that like? An 8-year-old. I'm just trying to see this through the mind. Now, most of the time we look at history, we're looking at it through the prism of adulthood experience, the ability to process and compare and maneuver and nuance. But an 8-year-old, what is that like to an 8-year-old?
Well, for an 8-year-old, it was very concerning. My parents had a lot of concern about me because, number one, this 8-year-old child had become a very disobedient child. And based upon me being in the midst of people like Dr. King and Congressman Lewis and C.T. Vivian and so many others in that movement, when they would come to Selma, I had become so gravitated by being not only embraced by them, but what was going on. And I knew that even though I was a little girl, I understood the difference between black and white, because I saw that and I felt that even before Dr. King had come to Selma. And I was an inquisitive little girl. So I wanted to be that little girl who would be part of those changes that would come to Selma, Alabama, because it was not only risky for my parents, but it was risky for any African American or anybody who would come to Selma to join that movement, because not only could you lose your jobs, especially in my case with my parents, but you could perhaps lose your lives. So being that disobedient child during that time, I just became disobedient in the sense that I just wanted to be a part of change on their behalf, and what I understood in terms of Dr. King and others were coming to fight for African Americans to gain their right to vote. And I saw all of the other injustices and some of the racial discrimination prior to them coming. And I just made up in my mind that I just wasn't going to let nobody turn me around. And that was difficult. But the Bloody Sunday March was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life during that movement. And it's one that I'll never forget, in spite of the many threats that had been made to me by my parents and so many others. And being a part of that particular march, there were vivid moments that I still feel now that impacted me, that has never left my heart and my soul. That march was led by the late Congressman John Lewis and Hosea Williams. And I remember that march very vividly. I remember the hundreds of policemen and billy clubs with tear gas masks, the horses and the dogs trampling over people as if they weren't human beings. I remember people being beaten down. I saw with my own eyes Congressman Lewis being beaten down, Amelia Boynton Robinson. I saw others who were a part of that march, running, crawling, and many crying and bleeding as we were running, trying to make our way back to Brown's Chapel Church. And for me, as that little girl, that experience was so traumatic. I was trying to make my way back home. And from Edmund Pettus Bridge back to George Washington Carver Projects, it was about a mile or two to get back to that destination. But I'll never forget being so traumatic, just devastated. As I was running, trying to make my way back home, I could still see the horses and the dogs trampling over people all the way back to the church. And I remember the late Hosea Williams picking me up, and my little feet were still galloping in his arms as he was trying to pick me up, because my eyes were tear gas and burning. He could see me crying. And I turned to him and I said in my own childish voice, "Put me down, because you are not running fast enough." And when I got home, my parents were standing in the door if they were waiting for their child to come home. And the picture of Bloody Sunday has never left my mind, neither my heart.
You know, I was thinking, I was listening to you say that you were a little, sound like you were saying you were a little troublemaker. And that sounds like the inspiration, or at least I'm sure it probably played a hand as Congressman Lewis, he coined that phrase about good trouble. Sound like you may have been the trailblazer at your little 8-year-old self out there, defying your parents, defying conventional wisdom, putting yourself in harm's way, getting in trouble, in other words. But as Congressman Lewis put it, it was good trouble.
Most certainly. As a matter of fact, you know, after Dr. King's death, my relationship with Congressman Lewis, we became much closer. We often stayed connected with each other from childhood, even until his passing. And it's a great history that we've had together. And oftentimes, Congressman Lewis would talk about the good trouble that not only he was in, but he would tease me about getting in good trouble too. And I never looked at it that way until I got older, because that's when he started teasing me about it. And that's exactly what it was. And then I would think too, the other thing about it, you know, during that time, I never looked at the word or knew of the word mentoring. And I was being mentored and embraced by those leaders and those other foot soldiers, unsung heroes, in a way that has helped to guide my path, and that really has made me the person. It helped to shape my life as to the person that I am today, and I'm so grateful for it, because one of the best things that I could have gained from that movement during those turbulent times was gaining character.
That's what I want you to do, because when I come back, I want to hear about your passion, your movement about that Edmund Pettus Bridge. I use the phrase, a bridge too far. I've gone too far. It's infamous in its fact that the bridge was named after a known segregationist, and that it still has that name. And now we've seen the recent passing of the Honorable John Lewis. And we're seeing a sea change across the country of social activism, and the advent of the killing of George Floyd. And so times are changing. And so you're in the right. One of my favorite sayings is, you want to you want to be successful, do the right thing, do it at the right time, and do it right. And you are the embodiment of that. So I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. I want to hear about this passion of yours and that bridge, that infamous Edmund Pettus Bridge. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Marketing Pulpit. You're watching the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I have my special guest, Sheyann Webb Christburg, and she's one of the confidants, and she was with Dr. King and Honorable John Lewis back during the 60s, during the height of the civil rights movement. And we're honored to have her as our special guest today on a special time. And we'll be back at our regular time next week at 10:30. So don't go anywhere. Marketing Pulpit. We'll be right back after the break. Land of the free, home of the brave. I'm sitting here looking at a passage from my book called Smarter Than the Boss. And there's a passage in here called Home of the Brave, Not So Much. And we talk about how we see grown men and women display this infantile display of timidity. And I'm looking at the antithesis of fear. I'm looking at somebody who's brave, who really shunned fear at the early age of 7 years old. I went through as I wrote this article, and it just has perfect context for the day, because she is the opposite, the polar opposite of what we're seeing now in some of our leaders in our country. And some of the people that are following our leader, well, not my leader, but following the leader of the country. This is the process. You can approach fear in 5 different ways. You can eliminate it or attempt to. You can avoid it. You can coexist. You can understand it, or you can self-empower yourself to deal with it. Now, far too many choose the first two, and that's the problem. As we see this country divided into these polarized camps, too many on a certain side of the aisle are seeking elimination and avoidance. I think at the very minimum, you should be in the middle and try to coexist. But then we have others who take that extra step to try to understand those things that we fear and to self-empower ourselves to deal with it. Because fear is like a bear. Most of the things that we fear is really like a teddy bear. But when you inject it with a steroid called fear, that teddy bear becomes a grizzly bear. And so we have to do, just like we have good trouble, we have to somehow look at the example of people like Sheyann, Christburg, and fear. Yes, I'm sure an 8-year-old hasn't really even conceptualized what fear is. Maybe that's what many of us should do. We should embed ourselves, inject ourselves in situations where we can make a difference and let fear be fear. But we have to keep our eye on the prize. Empower ourselves, strengthen our backbone, and stop this crazy, I'm afraid of them because they look different. Reminds me of somebody who deals with snakes. Most of us, when we grow up, we see a snake because we don't understand what a snake is. We don't know the difference between a copperhead, a green garden snake, a rattler, or a cobra. But what fear has taught us, the first snake we see, we stomp the life out of it. Whether we know it's poisonous or not. Too many people take that same approach to people they don't understand. If I don't understand it, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to eliminate it. But at the same time, we have people like our special guests. And that's what I like about Sheyann and the leaders that came along with her. Their fearlessness. Oh, my goodness. You want to find somebody who is the apple of my eye. You show me somebody who's fearless. That's what I used to like about Dick Gregory. When he passed away, I had a nice picture taken with him, and people would ask me, I talk about the quilt of my life and how your life is like a patch, a quilt, a patchwork. And I said that was a special patchwork for Dick Gregory, the fearless patch. We're going to get something from everybody, just like I'm getting something today from my guest. But every time I see a fearless person, and I can tell she still has that fear because she's still on this campaign of trying to get this bridge changed. She's going to come up against some I'm sure some diehard Edmund Pettis fans. Some people who want the old guard, just like the folks don't want these statues taken down. Like in 2017, when they were down in Charlottesville talking about the Jews won't replace us. They got walking around with ticket torches. Some of those same forces are going to be against the renaming of that bridge. Sheyann, why do you do it?
Why did I what?
Why do you do it? Why do you take on this task of renaming that bridge?
Well, let me first give you my opinion on the bridge. First and foremost, I think it's important for people to understand. I've had the opportunity to talk to many close friends of Congressman Lewis who knew him well. First and foremost, this is nothing that he was asking for, anything that he even wanted.
Okay.
This is not anything that he wanted. He was fine with the bridge keeping its historical significance and historical presence. All of us knew what happened on the Edmund Pettis Bridge. And I too, like many others, when I first was thinking about it, when I found out that there were many people who were considering renaming the bridge, and they still are, my first thought was, whatever is gonna help Selma to move forward. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And I also was thinking about the fact that the authenticity of the renaming of the bridge should not be compromised by any means. So I've had my mixed emotions about it. And at this present time, I think a lot has to be considered with that. First and foremost, the renaming of the bridge, will it take away from the historical value that's present, at hand, even in the midst of that name being the opposite of a person or an individual that many of us didn't quite compliment him, with him being a part of the KKK or whatever that history was with him. But at the same time, the other thing is we have had people to travel across the country to come to that Edmund Pettus Bridge as tourism. And that's young people and adults alike, people of color. And that's what they know from a historical value at this time. I wouldn't like to see anything in renaming that bridge to impact tourism. Tourism right now is very big in Selma, but it still needs to be elevated. So if the name is to be renamed, I think that it should be a village approach, first and foremost, taking into strong consideration the citizens of Selma.
Right.
I think that they should be involved in that process. I also think that other people who comes from historical backgrounds, not just in Selma, but across the country, those who deal with history, those who deal with tourism, who are professional, bringing people to the table so that more collaboration from citizens of Selma and communication to dialogue on it, because there are many who truly feel that the name should be changed, and then there are many who think the name shouldn't be changed. But my present is that I'm for whatever would help to move Selma forward and will not take away from the historical value at hand. And if it is to be changed, if the bridge is to be changed, if that decision is made, in my estimation, it should be named after Congressman John Lewis.
I can see that you have given this idea some thought, because you're right. There are two very distinct camps who feel like when you have a history, a country that's been built on backs of slaves, Jim Crow, they still have voter suppression and all types of injustices taking place right now, that we somehow, when we rename or dismantle the statues, we're really getting rid of the history. And that I've heard even some people say, look, if you're going to put up a statue or you have a bridge named after somebody, you got to tell the whole story. You can't just put their name up there. You got to put a plaque and say this person was a slaveholder, this person was a member of the Klan, this person killed people, was a night rider. You got to tell the whole story. So I think that however you approach it, it has to be balanced. You can't just put up a bridge or put up a statue of somebody without telling their history. So that's where that, I think that's where that kind of a compromise. Yeah, if you're going to keep the bridge up, you got to put a plaque up there to tell what kind of person he was, and not have our children walking around glorifying or going across a bridge over somebody who was really advocating their demise. So I do understand your nuanced position.
And Robert, too, with that, I just think that, too, we have to consider in that process that when you change something that's already historical, it puts us in a posture of rewriting our history. And our history doesn't need to be rewritten. Our history needs to be more focused on in terms of ensuring that our young people are getting more infused and get a better understanding and reading about our history so that they can know not only who Dr. King was, but who Congressman Lewis was, who Dr. C.T. Vivian was, who Albert Turner was, Marie Foster, Amelia, so many of our unsung heroes.
Amen.
I think that more emphasis need to be placed on that in terms of our history, and our history does not need to be rewritten. We just need to put things in place in our school systems, in our homes, to encourage young people to know more about, not just about Dr. King and a few people, but more about the history of unsung heroes and some of the foot soldiers. And something needs to be done with placing emphasis on those foot soldiers as well. Not necessarily on the bridge, because you can't put all the names on the bridge. But what can we put in place to recognize their efforts and how they played a significant role? Those discussions need to be dealt with.
You got to start preaching up here. Are you a preacher?
No, I'm not a preacher. I just try to think realistic. Right. And I don't always be right sometimes, but at such a time as this, I think that our thought pattern should very well, whatever decisions that we make, it should be inclusive. Yes. And it takes a village. I think we should use a village approach. And that's something that we are lacking in many of our communities, is bringing people together to the table to not only communicate and dialogue, but to organize and to strategize. We got to do more of that, because that's what made the difference in the 60s, and it worked. And I know it can continue to make the difference in terms of what we're being challenged with today.
I was reading in the chat line here, one of my matter of fact, he's one of my blood brothers. He said, we're speaking to a historical figure. And my other brother last week, he was saying he had the movie Selma, Lord Selma. So that was a movie that was made on your story?
Yes, it was. Actually, I really want to really applaud and thank the late Frank Sikora, who was a Birmingham news reporter who came to Selma. He saw pictures of myself and my childhood friend, Rachel, and he wanted to know who those children were, who were in many pictures during those turbulent times. And of course, that book was written in a movie, a Disney movie would come after that. And I'm very grateful and thankful that not only the book and movie came into play, but it has given young people the opportunity across the country to learn that, yes, there were young people involved, and certainly there were children involved. But more personally, it has given me the opportunity to speak across the country, to not only tell my history of that movement and how it had a profound impact on my life, but encourage young people to do their best, to be their best, and to become the best version of their lives that they could come. And they can only do that by continuing to read and participating, because you are not too young to stand up for what you know is right and start participating in community service and those things as any young child can do that can make a difference.
Oh my goodness. This is so, I am almost at a loss for words, and that's unusual for me. I feel like I'm walking in history. I'm walking in justice and walking in the moment, the movement, all encapsulated in one person here. Somebody who walked with the Honorable John Lewis, and we are still celebrating and really mourning his passing. But just feeling like having spent the time with him on the bridge and in life, and there's a piece of Mr. Lewis still with us, and you're really carrying that torch. You're continuing. I can tell by your passion. The light has not dimmed one bit. If anything, it may have inflamed a little more since Mr. Lewis has left us. And I just really want to thank you. Now, are you doing any book tours, speaking tours? If somebody want to get more of you, is there a way they should reach out? Do you have an agent, or do you want to call you? What's the story?
Most certainly. I've been speaking over the last 30, 40 years since the book has come out. And I, of course, speak to elementary, on any level, elementary, junior high, high school, college, government agencies and organization. And of course, I have not been on tours during the COVID, have not been traveling as much because of COVID, but I am doing virtual. I'm doing virtual presentation with people now, and particularly with young people, as we are dealing with this entire crisis of this pandemic. And more so with that, I'm amplifying my voice even more since the death of Congressman Lewis, particularly as it relates to our upcoming election. And I cannot speak on any platform with anyone unless I am talking about the importance of us getting out to vote, and not just getting out to vote, but also being a participant in the process. We only have 90 days to do whatever we're gonna do. So it's not about us talking anymore about the changes that we want to see. It's about what are we gonna do. So I'm amplifying my voice as we proceed into this upcoming election with young people who are eligible to vote and those who are not eligible to vote, because young people can learn a lot when they're active in the process. And surely there's much to be done in us with this upcoming election as a whole, because it's going to be different, I believe, from any other election in which we have participated in.
Well, this is my last question. Now, there are some young people, and I try to be able to. That's why I had to go back and get me another degree. I got me a chaplaincy degree. Matter of fact, I just finished the graduation today. I'm trying to understand, and connect with people on every possible level. I want to be a universal person, but I'm having a hard time understanding the young people who say that voting is a waste. What do you say to those people, Sheyann?
Well, number one, I think that there's a true necessity for us to realize that it's important for us to mentor young people. The earlier we can get to them and start mentoring to them early, and not necessarily when they become 15, 16, 18 years old. We've got to start getting with our young people early and start mentoring to them. And when I say mentoring, people need to understand what mentoring is. For the most part, you got to give them some time. Mentoring is not a touch and go situation. You got to spend time with them. And when you mentor young people, not only are you mentoring them in one aspect, you can teach them things and you can get them involved more in the active process with community service or whatever. But I think when we hear these same sentiments with our young people, with giving their different excuses about their votes won't count and it's a waste. Well, number one, they are saying a lot of things based upon what they've seen in the past. And that's why it's more important for us not to wait until and try to talk to these young people coming up to the election. I mean, you're not going to drive a lot of energy and get young people motivated for something when you're trying to push them at the last minute to try to do something that they already don't have a true understanding about, and they hadn't been possibly involved in it. So I think mentoring is the key to a lot of things that, taking again that village approach and getting our young people involved. And then I think that there are other distractions that are impacting those different excuses. But now more than ever, I'm not trying to excuse anybody, any young person of age who's an older person who's eligible to vote. We all are in a pandemic position where all of our lives are being impacted. It has impacted us individually, collectively, and it has impacted all of our lifestyles because of poor leadership. And because of that, if we don't know anything else, we need to go to the polls and vote so that we can get new leadership as a result of the position that we're in now. And I think many efforts should be placed on young people and teaching them and training them and motivating and inspiring them to, excuse me, I hit something, hold one second. And inspiring them. This is a good time to do it. What we've seen happen to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and all of these systemic racism episodes and social injustices, there's no reason for us to have any excuses. And voting is not an option right now. It's not an option. Whether it rains, whatever the weather is, we've got to get out and vote across this country. And we got to do it in a way that we've never done it before. Even when we first elected our first African-American president, we got to do it even better this time, because voter suppression that we're seeing coming from our president right now is already in place for controversy. And this election is not going to be the same. So either we got to prepare ourselves for absentee voting. We don't need to procrastinate on that. We need to know what that process is. We need to go and make a decision on whether we're going to do absentee voting, get it done, encourage other people to do absentee ballot, especially our elderly, because of COVID, because they are not going to be able to stand in long lines. And then, of course, their health can't be impacted. Then we have older people who are in nursing homes, older people who are in all these other living senior citizen home. We got to find ways and means to get to them and their families, to get absentee ballots to them so that they can be completed and completed correctly so that their votes will count. But most of all, we need to make sure that we don't take anything for granted in terms of what we need to do individually. It's not about us talking anymore. The question is, what are you gonna do?
Amen. 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 I tell you a few. I remember the last election. I was sitting around wondering what I could do, and we started a organization called Motor Voter, taking people to the polls, providing free rides, and we said, look, we were taking people. So, like you said, everybody can do something, and we're going to be back on the ground again this time. We're going to get people registered if they need rides to the polls. Whatever we can do, we need to remove those obstacles, and we need people like you out here whose voices are you're that connection to the past. We have to every now and then, every 50, 60, 70 years ago, we need to relight that fire, because people get lazy, they fall asleep, they get comfortable. And so that's why I'm glad to have you to come on today and really shake people up, get them out of that slumber they've been in, and realize this is the election of our lives. This is the big one. And if you don't get out here and vote, I don't want to hear any complaint ever again out of your mouth. Don't even come my way, because you did not participate in the process. So I say thank you again. Now, do you have a website or any way you want folks to reach out to you if they're trying to get a hold of you?
Yes, I do have a website. They can go, first of all, I have a public number that I
Okay.
can give to people, which is a business number, because we are rallying particular around young people and getting them involved. The number is 334-538-3320. If there are anybody out there, it doesn't even matter whether you're in Montgomery, state of Alabama, wherever you are. We've been on Zoom with young people all over the country doing panel discussion in terms of the things that they can do and organizing themselves wherever they are to help be a part of the process with this upcoming election. That's the number. And then the website that I'm on Facebook. They can Facebook me, Sheyann Webb Christburg, and inbox me. And I do have a website, which is the SheyannWebbGroup.com. SheyannWebbGroup.com. And we are welcoming anybody who's ready and willing to grind it out. We only have approximately 90 days to get it right. And we're looking forward to working with volunteers and whatever way you can volunteer with us. We have those discussions. And even more than that, we want to listen to the voices of our young people.
All right, folks. That's I want to thank you again, Sheyann. This has been great. I'm going to put your information also on my website. So anybody who didn't get the information here today, they can go to the website. That was the Sheyann Webb Group.
Sheyann Webb Group.
SheyannWebbGroup.com.
Yes,
Okay. And I want to thank you, and I would like to check back in with you from time to time to get us all as we get closer to the election. And we need your voice, and we have a very big audience here, and we need to get that message into as many ears as we can. And I just thank you for what you did on the bridge, what you've done since then. And I feel like you have your best years ahead because you are a voice that we sorely need right now. And I just want to thank you again for joining me as my special guest on the Marketing Pulpit TV show. Any parting words?
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
All right, folks. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to wrap up the show for today. Go to marketingpulpit.com. You can find her information on the website. We'll have it there right after we get off the air here. And also go to her on Facebook. You can find her and go to her website, SheyannWebbGroup.com. And the phone number is 334-538-3320. If you need a dynamic speaker, somebody to come out and get people motivated and excited, then reach out to this sister. She has what it takes. I'm telling you, I think so the longer we talk, boy, the more juice I can feel her getting riled up over there. So I think there's a lot more in her to come out. Thank you again, folks. And folks, that's going to wrap up the show for today. Go to marketingpulpit.com, and you can find us also on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. You'll find this show and past shows. So if you missed anything today, go back to the website, and we'll have it right on the website. You can also find it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, as we always in every show, if you want to be successful, you have to do these three things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you got to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. Be a wrap.